We talk a lot at Boldly now about being hyper local in our decision making in terms of like, local communities, local economies making decisions for themselves, like how should that run for them. But we also talk about how there's a need for a larger global governance of those things. And you were sharing with me something that's going on in the EU right now around protecting workers' rights. Can you share a little bit about this? Because this seems like at that level, that kind of like that 10,000 foot level, a really important moment to understand that actually governments can start to do things that maybe were, I wouldn't say impossible before, but unexpected before. Tell us a little bit about what's going on for workers' rights in the EU.
So I was sharing with you before about what mandatory due diligence means. Very technical term, mostly only lawyers understand it, or human rights lawyers. But it's actually saying that companies have a requirement to look at what the impact of their business is. And it's actually being brought about in law in the EU, in the European Union.
If we're all expected to, behave in a certain way around workers' rights or maybe, environmental issues and rights, then we just have better, we just have better capitalism. It's just better for everybody. And so I think like we're always a little bit, I think in this era saying, oh, well, governments can't do things or they're incapable. This sounds like something that's really positive coming out of the EU.
Well, it's really clear that in most countries around the world, that idea that governments can't do things or they're too slow or they don't care has been blown out of the water too. Because, people are looking and saying it doesn't work if we don't have coordination on this between cities and states and federal governments, between countries that live closely together, and those borders, on the lines on the map don't make a lot of sense because they get their essential food from across this border. And, so I think it's really changing what people could imagine for the future. It's actually about the real impact, and it is really about investing. So I think where we've come in 2020, which I was not expecting in 2019, I got to say, that people are thinking about investing in human beings and investing in human rights is a real conversation now. Whereas before it was like, that just sounds like more cost to me. That's a cost to business. And rather than seeing workers and our skills and our talents across the world as being a cost to business, it's actually the foundation of any business. Right. And I think for people who've been working in the creative arts, everyone's known that, right? But even people in the creative arts are often not paid duly for the value that they bring. And so, this is a real opportunity when you think about connecting people from different cultures and different industries and really looking at what is important and what is necessary for a decent life and a quality of life and a dignity of life, then we can draw on so much more than saying, oh, it's like poor people in this context, just somehow they're not as valued for some reason. We don't quite understand it. That was a part of the design of the system.
Right.
And now we can't just say, oh, it kind of just fell out of the sky and that's what we have to deal with. No, we have a real opportunity now, a real moment in time, a moment in a generation to actually look at how are we going to protect the things that we really value, and how are we going to ensure that people are not fearful about how to manage their lives and how to raise their families and support people in their own communities and just take that pie for me. It's like the chocolate bar, really. Like, I just want that for me because I can't see how we can make that work in any other way. Well, that's just a lack of imagination, I think.
That's right.